Tikal/Tikal in modern Mayan orthography, is the ruin of an ancient city, which was likely to have been called Yaxmutl. 1. Found in a rainforest in Guatemala. 2. It is one of the largest archaeological sites and urban centers of the pre-Columbian Maya civilization. It is located in the archaeological region of the Petén Basin in what is now northern Guatemala. Situated in Petén Department, the site is part of Guatemala's Tikal National Park, and in 1979 it was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. 3. Tikal was the capital of a state that became one of the most powerful kingdoms of the ancient Maya. 4. Though monumental architecture at the site dates back as far as the 4th century BC, Tikal reached its apogee during the Classic period, c. 200 to 900. During this time, the city dominated much of the Maya region politically, economically, and militarily, while interacting with areas throughout Mesoamerica such as the great metropolis of Teotihuacan in the distant Valley of Mexico. There is evidence that one of Tikal's great ruling dynasties was founded by conquerors from Teotihuacan in the 4th century AD. Following the end of the Late Classic period, no new major monuments were built at Tikal, and there is evidence that elite palaces were burned. These events were coupled with a gradual population decline, culminating with the site's abandonment by the end of the 10th century. Tikal is the best understood of any of the large lowland Maya cities, with a long dynastic ruler list, the discovery of the tombs of many of the rulers on this list, and the investigation of their monuments, temples and palaces. 5. Etymology. Emblem glyph for Tikal, Mutl. The name Tikal may be derived from Tiakal in the Yucatec Maya language. It is said to be a relatively modern name meaning "at the waterhole." The name was apparently applied to one of the site's ancient reservoirs by hunters and travelers in the region. 6. It has alternatively been interpreted as meaning "the place of the voices" in the Itza Maya language. Tikal, however, is not the ancient name for the site but rather the name adopted shortly after its discovery in the 1840s. 7. Hieroglyphic inscriptions at the ruins refer to the ancient city as Yaxmutl or Yaxmutl, meaning first mutled. 6. Tikal may have come to have been called this because Dos Pilas also came to use the same emblem glyph. The rulers of the city presumably wanted to distinguish themselves as the first city to bear the name. 8. The kingdom as a whole was simply called Mutl. 9. Which is the reading of the hair bundle emblem glyph seen in the accompanying photo. Its precise meaning remains obscure. 6. Geography. The Maya area within the Mesoamerican region. Both Tikal and Calakmul lie near the center of the area. The closest large modern settlements are Flores and Santa Elena, approximately 64 kilometers, 40 miles, by road to the southwest. 10. Tikal is approximately 303 kilometers, 188 miles, north of Guatemala City. It is 19 kilometers, 12 miles, south of the contemporary Maya city of Uxactan and 30 kilometers, 19 miles, northwest of Yaxa. 6. 11. The city was located 100 kilometers, 62 miles, southeast of its Great Classic period rival, Calakmul, and 85 kilometers, 53 miles, northwest of Calakmul Salay Caracol, now in Belize. 12. The city has been completely mapped and covered an area greater than 16 square kilometers, 6.2 square miles, that included about 3,000 structures. 13. The topography of the site consists of a series of parallel limestone ridges rising above swampy lowlands. The major architecture of the site is clustered upon areas of higher ground and linked by raised causeways spanning the swamps. 14. The area around Tikal has been declared as the Tikal National Park, and the preserved area covers 570 square kilometers, 220 square miles. 15. It was created on May 26, 1955 under the auspices of the Instituto de Antropología y Historia and was the first protected area in Guatemala. 16. The ruins lie among the tropical rainforests of northern Guatemala that formed the cradle of lowland Maya civilization. The city itself was located among abundant fertile upland soils, and may have dominated a natural east-to-west trade route across the Yucatán Peninsula. 17. Conspicuous trees at the Tikal Park include gigantic kapok tree, Ceiba pentandra, the sacred tree of the Maya, tropical cedar, Cedrela odorata, and Honduras mahogany, Swayatinium acrophylla. Regarding the fauna, agudas, white-nosed coatis, gray foxes, Jeffrey's spider monkeys, howler monkeys, harpy eagles, falcons, ocellated turkeys, swans, toucans, green parrots and leafcutter ants can be seen there regularly. Jaguars, ocelots, and cougars are also said to roam in the park. 18. Tikal had no water other than what was collected from rainwater and stored in 10 reservoirs. Archaeologists working in Tikal during the 20th century refurbished one of these ancient reservoirs to store water for their own use. 19. The average annual rainfall at Tikal is 1,945 mm, 76.6 in. However, the arrival of rain was often unpredictable, and long periods of drought could occur before the crops ripened, which severely threatened the inhabitants of the city. 20. Population. Population estimates for Tikal vary from 10,000 to as high as 90,000 inhabitants. 13. The population of Tikal began a continuous curve of growth starting in the Preclassic period, approximately 2000 BC, AD 200, with a peak in the Late Classic with the population growing rapidly from AD 700 through to 830, followed by a sharp decline. For the 120 square kilometers, 46 square miles, area falling within the earthwork defenses of the hinterland, the peak population is estimated at 517 per square kilometer, 1340 per square mile. In an area within a 12 kilometers, 7.5 miles, radius of the site core, peak population is estimated at 120,000, population density is estimated at 265 per square kilometer, 689 per square mile. In a region within a 25 kilometers, 16 miles, radius of the site core and including some satellite sites, peak population is estimated at 425,000 with a density of 216 per square kilometer, 515 per square mile. These population figures are even more impressive because of the extensive swamplands that were unsuitable for habitation or agriculture. However, some archaeologists, such as David Webster, believe these figures to be far too high. 21. Rulers. History. Preclassic. There are traces of early agriculture at the site dating as far back as 1000 BC, in the Middle Preclassic. 22. A cache of Mamon ceramics dating from about 700 to 400 BC were found in a sealed chultun, a subterranean bottle-shaped chamber. 23. Major construction at Tikal was already taking place in the Late Preclassic period, first appearing around 400 to 300 BC, including the building of major pyramids and platforms, although the city was still dwarfed by sites further north such as El Mirador and Nakbe. 22, 24. At this time, Tikal participated in the widespread Chikanel culture that dominated the central and northern Maya areas at this time, a region that included the entire Yucatán Peninsula including northern and eastern Guatemala and all of Belize. 25. Two temples dating to late Chikanel times had masonry-walled superstructures that may have been corbel vaulted, although this has not been proven. One of these had elaborate paintings on the outer walls showing human figures against a scrollwork background, painted in yellow, black, pink, and red. 26. In the 1st century AD, rich burials first appeared in Tikal underwent a political and cultural florescence as its giant northern neighbors declined. 22. At the end of the Late Preclassic, the Azapan-style art and architecture from the Pacific coast began to influence Tikal, as demonstrated by a broken sculpture from the Acropolis and early murals at the city. 27. Early Classic. Dynastic rulership among the lowland Maya is most deeply rooted at Tikal. According to later hieroglyphic records, the dynasty was founded by Yaxeb-Zuk, perhaps in the 1st century AD. 28. At the beginning of the Early Classic, power in the Maya region was concentrated at Tikal and Calakmul, in the core of the Maya heartland. 29. Tikal may have benefited from the collapse of the large preclassic states such as El Mirador. In the early Classic, Tikal rapidly developed into the most dynamic city in the Maya region, stimulating the development of other nearby Maya cities. 30. The site, however, was often at war and inscriptions tell of alliances and conflict with other Maya states, including Yucatán, Caracol, Naranjo, and Calakmul. The site was defeated at the end of the Early Classic by Caracol, which rose to take Tikal's place as the paramount center in the southern Maya lowlands. 31. The earlier part of the Early Classic saw hostilities between Tikal and its neighbor Yucatán, with Yucatán recording the capture of prisoners from Tikal. 32. There appears to have been a breakdown in the male succession by AD 317, when Lady Unen Balam conducted a Caton-ending ceremony, apparently as queen of the city. 33. Tikal and Teotihuacan. The great metropolis of Teotihuacan in the Valley of Mexico appears to have decisively intervened in Tikal politics. As early as 200 AD, Teotihuacan had embassies in Tikal. 34. The 14th king of Tikal was Chukta Kichak, Great Jaguar Pa. 28, Chuktok built a palace that was preserved and developed by later rulers until it became the core of the central acropolis. 35, little is known about Chuktok except that he was killed on January 14, 378 AD. Siajkak section, contradictory. On the same day, Siajkak, fire is born, arrived from the west, having passed through El Peru, a site to the west of Tikal, on 8 January, 28, on Stela 31. He is named as Lord of the West. 36, Siajkak was probably a foreign general serving a figure represented by a non-Maya hieroglyph of a spear thrower combined with an owl, a glyph that is well known from the Greek metropolis of Teotihuacan in the distant valley of Mexico. Spear thrower owl may even have been the ruler of Teotihuacan. These recorded events strongly suggest that Siajkak led a Teotihuacan invasion that defeated the native Tikal king, who was captured and immediately executed. 37, Siajkak appears to have been aided by a powerful political faction at Tikal itself. Wink with a frown. 38, roughly at the time of the conquest, a group of Teotihuacan natives were apparently residing near the Lost World complex. 39, he also exerted control over other cities in the area, including Yucatán, where he became king, but did not take the throne of Tikal for himself. 22, 40, within a year, the son of spear-thrower Al by the name of Yaxnunahianai, first crocodile, had been installed as the 15th king of Tikal while he was still a boy, being enthroned on September 13, 379. 40, 41, he reigned for 47 years as king of Tikal, and remained a vassal of Siajkak for as long as the latter lived. It seems likely that Yaxnunahianai took a wife from the pre-existing, defeated, Tikal dynasty and thus legitimized the right to rule of his son, Siajchan Kawil II. 40. Rio Azul, a small site 100 kilometers 62 miles northeast of Tikal, was conquered by the latter during the reign of Yaxnunahianai. The site became an outpost of Tikal, shielding it from hostile cities further north, and also became a trade link to the Caribbean. 42. Although the new rulers of Tikal were foreign, their descendants were rapidly Mayanized. Tikal became the key ally and trading partner of Teotihuacan in the Maya lowlands. After being conquered by Teotihuacan, Tikal rapidly dominated the northern and eastern Petan. Yucatán, together with smaller towns in the region, were absorbed into Tikal's kingdom. Other sites, such as Bijucal and Modal de San Jose near Lake Petanitza, became vassals of their more powerful neighbor to the north. By the middle of the 5th century, Tikal had a core territory of at least 25 kilometers 16 miles in every direction. 39.